Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Allatra TV India. We continue our conversation about Creative Society, and today we are glad to find out the vision from our special guest. So, with great pleasure, I would like to introduce our today's guest who will be speaking about the Happiness Connect. Without any further ado, let me introduce our guest. Ramendra Kumar, or Ramen, is an award winning writer, storyteller, inspirational speaker with 41 books to his name. Ramen's writings have been translated into 30 languages and have found place in several textbooks and anthologies. Mr. Ramendra has been invited to prestigious literary festivals both within and outside the country. An engineer, an MBA, Ramen was serving as a general manager and when he took in Rourkela steel plant, when he took the voluntary retirement to pursue his Ikigai in August 2020. So, welcome, sir, to our platform of Creative Society. And I'm
Thank you.
Professor Rachna Chakravarti, and educator and founder mentor of CVMD and CWMA. And today I will be hosting this insightful interview with my co-host Anna, who is an amazing personality herself.
Thank you, Rachana. Greetings to all, greetings, dear viewers. And we are so glad, Ramendra, that you find time to participate in this interview. And we are so looking forward to hear your vision about Creative Society. And just briefly would like to remind our viewers that the Creative Society project is a worldwide unique global project of our mankind, initiated by people to themselves, in order to build a society which worthy of a human to live in. So more information everyone can find on our website, allatraunites.com. So, Ramendra, we would like to start this interview and to ask you, so could you please share with us what inspires you in work, in your life in general?
Uh, there are different things, work, life, basically. But I would like to start with what inspired me to become a writer, because that's my passion, that's my ikigai, that's my obsession. So when I was 7 years old, I had written a poem, which was the most horrible poem ever written by anybody. It went something like this: Topsy and Tim went for a swim. Topsy swam well and broke the spell. Tim swam badly and went home sadly. Now, this was such a sad, pathetic poem, but I, the proud poet, scribbled it on a piece of paper and took it to my father. I thought my father would say, "What is this silly fellow? You should be doing science or maths, your brain would develop." Or, like Mr. Putul's son, practice some running or something. You're writing silly poetry. But my father didn't do any of those things. He just took the paper from my hand, read it, picked me up, gave me a tight hug, and said one word: wonderful. So today, 50 odd years later, if I'm a writer of 30, 41 books, 30 translations, and blah, 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 it is because of that one word of encouragement and that one beautiful gesture of him hugging me. So from there, I moved on to write poems and stories and short stories and whatnot and all that. So basically, I write in all genres. I write from picture books to early teens to young adults. I write fiction, I write non-fiction, I write biographies. I've written on very difficult topics like the POCSO Act, which is basically Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. So there I had to break down this act, which is really, really complicated, into simple words so that children could read and understand. Right now I'm working on Domestic Violence Act. Then I've written biographies of people like APJ Abdul Kalam. So basically what I want to do is to talk about the values I believe in and share with the rest of the world, particularly children, because it's my firm faith that children of today, if they read and if they are exposed to great values, they will be good citizens of tomorrow and the society would have some chance of improving, of progressing, possibly of surviving.
Great, great. That was superb to listen from you, Ramendra. And we really admire your concept of taking care of every aspects of the humanity into consideration and writing for them and inspiring them with your writing works. So, moving ahead with my next question, you are a writer. So already, as we all know that since you are a writer, could you please share a little more about your books and what are the main values and ideas that you would love to share with the audience a little more in briefly we would love to know, since knowing about you and your ideas concepts about writing is really inspiring our audience, so we would love to hear a little more from you.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I want to tell you how it all started. What is the background behind all this? So I, as a child, was traumatized. I was bullied very much because I was rather odd looking, very, very shy, very skinny in an all boys school. Plus, I had to face a lot of trauma. And then what happened was I was a very good student. But in class 10, I used to come first in the class, in my section till class 9. In class 10, my sister's marriage happened. And we are from a very traditional society, where the marriage goes into a number of ceremonies for a number of days, like you see in some of these Bollywood movies, like Hum Aapke Kaun and all that. So I missed around 15 days. In class 10, if you miss 15 days, it's big trouble. Then I had malaria and again a relapse. So 1.5 months I was out. So when I came back and in the first unit test, I got 12 out of 30 because I barely managed to pass. So the teacher, the class teacher showed my paper. It was full of red lines. And he said, see what complacence can do to a person. Ramendra Kumar, who used to stand first in class, he's now almost just about managed to scrape through, or else he would have failed. That broke me. And then I couldn't understand most of what was being taught because my classmates had raised their head and all. And I had a kind of a nervous breakdown. So my father was very, very empathetic, but my mother was very, very strict. She said, no, you have to go to school. So I said, no, I cannot go to school. And that tussle went on and all. So for 1 month, I stayed at home. My mother tolerated. After that, she called me one day. It was a Saturday. And she said, from Monday, you have to go to school. So I said, no, I cannot face my classmates. I cannot face their jeers. I cannot face the kind of looks my teachers are giving me. They are so upset with me. They said, no, what will you do then? I said, I'll appear as a private candidate. Instead of appearing from the school, I'll appear as a private candidate. He said, no, nothing doing. Monday you have to go. Saturday night I couldn't sleep. Sunday night I couldn't sleep. Sunday around 12:30, I broke open a bottle of phenyl and was about to drink it. My father had just got up to drink water. We had this mosquito mesh, a door with a mosquito mesh, so he could see me standing with something. He broke open the door, picked up the phenyl bottle, threw it, and clasped me to his heart, and he cried. The first time I saw the strongest man in my life weep like a child. And he said one thing, that beta, if something happens to you, what will happen to me? Have you ever thought of that? How will I live without you? You do whatever you want. I will fully support you. And then he told my mother that no, he will not go to school. He'll appear as a private candidate. He supported me fully. I appeared as a private candidate and passed in first division. But for his gesture, but for his empathy, but for his understanding, today Ramendra Kumar wouldn't have been there talking to you. Then another thing, my mother left with a young man when I was in class 10. I was 14 and the man was 28 and my mother was 48. In 1977, can you imagine what kind of a scandal that would have erupted, in a small campus where we all stayed. So my father and I had to go through that insult, that shame, that terrible, terrible agony. And my father broke down because he was very much in love with my mother and he used to take a lot of care for her. She was not a good, she didn't have good health. My father broke down. And then as a 15-year-old, I resurrected his career. He was a professor of Hindi. I asked him to go back to his, with full vigor and, hard work and all that, to go back to his career, to make a name for himself. and he retired as professor and head. So he had resurrected me and I resurrected him. And that was the bonding. So I want to share with the world in many of my stories, this facts of, these aspects of love, empathy, of reaching out to people, of understanding the agony, what the other person is going through. These aspects come in. And I want to tell the world that if a complete, abject, miserable failure can become a small little personality who's invited by Anna and Rachna to their wonderful studio, then anybody and everybody can achieve. I want to share my vulnerability that if I can, you can, you will.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for so inspiring sharing about your personal story. How did you become a writer and what actually, happened? So thank you so much for it. And in this case, it will be so interesting to know, what do you think, what unites all people all around the world, regardless of nationality, religions, and other affiliation?
That's such a beautiful question, and I'm so glad that you asked me. I believe emotions invite the people, emotions told through stories, because we are all storytellers. I'll give you an example of two of the most impacting storytellers in recent times. One was Hitler and the other was Mahatma Gandhi. Hitler told his story, a very powerful story, but it was based on hate, violence, and destruction. Mahatma Gandhi told a story equally powerful, but it was based on love, non-violence, peace. These two storytellers changed the world, one for the better and one for the worse. Down the years, we've had so many lovely storytellers. We've had Tolstoy. His particular story, How Much Land Does a Man Need, still gives me goosebumps. We have Nelson Mandela. We have Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream. What a beautiful story, in such a lovely way he said it. We have John Lennon. Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living life in peace. What a lovely story. So emotions told through stories are the most important connect, binding people together. But the emotions which we should share should be of love, peace, happiness, and empathy. Only then will that connect be strong and will last for centuries. Nobody wants to remember Hitler, but people still almost, what should I say, deify or worship Mahatma Gandhi because the message was as important as the story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's so true that we have two different personalities making the world change in a different way. So it is upon us, as we as human beings, how we do that and how can we bring the change. So either to a wrong turn or to the right turn. So human life is always very, very important for us. And that is what is the basic foundation of the Creative Society too. So, moving ahead with my next question, how do you envision a creative society according to you? So, what is that which you would love to share with us?
There are many aspects to it. When a girl in India walks in the evening, she doesn't walk straight. She walks looking back. That to me is not a creative society. If half the population of India doesn't feel safe on the roads, how is it a creative society? If we are continuously seeing headlines or in the news, in the newspapers, about violence, about destruction, about death, about fissures between genders, fissures between people, in between castes, subcastes, classes, subclasses, the rich and the poor, how is this a creative society? So unless we have a society with equal opportunities for everybody, where love, peace, and happiness are the real drivers rather than hatred, self centeredness, selfishness, suspicion and hatred, we cannot have a creative society.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ramendra, that you're just like briefly, but just to the point, explained like what is, in your opinion, creative society. I'm totally agree with you because it's firstly it's a safe society, and you said that how it's like possible that how population in India live in a fear, right? So I think it's not only in India, the whole world, and actually we all people now we are not safe. Regardless, we are poor or we are rich, it doesn't matter. We still in this world, we are not safe because we have such conditions which are not for a human being. So thank you so much that you just highlight this very important fact. How should be actually creative society. And also you mentioned that, the human values should be, in the first position. So in such case, it would be great that we now start to talk about the 8 Foundation because they are so unique as they formed as a result of millions of interviews with the many, many people all around the world and who are also shared in what kind of society they would like to live. So now let's watch a video from the conference Creative Society, what the prophets dreamed of. And in this video, it's going to explain how these 8 foundations were formed.
The biggest social polling in our entire history of civilization has been conducted during the last 10 years by people around the world. 180 countries, millions of people of different social statuses, denominations, nationalities, talk about the society in which they want to live in. And this is a creative society. Based on the answers of the people from around the world, 8 foundations of creative society were established. A society where all people can live in happiness, peace, and prosperity. This is that very society that our prophets bequeathed to us. All prophets talked about the value of life, freedom, honesty, common human values, equality before God, mutual respect, and unification of people, about love for each other. They talked about the common truth and about the world which we can create. The prophet said, there will be a time when we're able to build a creative society. We are honored to live in the time which the prophets talked about, when everyone is chosen.
So Ramendra, maybe you have some comments on this video and maybe you could share what do you like the most in the 8 foundations?
The 8 foundations, I've just noted down and kept some place, yeah. See, the first and what I liked about when you talk about the human life, the importance of human life, how so it's such a vital thing that everybody's got equal opportunities, and human life is valued. We so randomly say that human life, humankind, and this and that, but do we really treat humans as humans? We treat them as despicable creatures. I'm in this position, so anybody below me, I can treat them the way I want. My own wife, because of a patriarchal setup in India, most women are, treated as second-class citizens. So where are we valuing human life? Then human freedom. Where is the freedom? I'm telling you, I have worked in a public sector, in a government sector. I didn't have freedom to speak. The first time I went against the managing director, though I was right and he was wrong, I was transferred to a section where there was no work. So where is the freedom? Do we give freedom to our children to express their opinion? Do we give freedom to the housekeepers or to our workers? Does the government give us freedom? It doesn't. Everywhere I feel as if I'm shackled. I used to write satire, Anna and Rachna, and I I was told, and some of the satire was political satire, where I used to lampoon all political parties because I'm apolitical. But as a satirist, I have to bring down the flaws, show the flaws. And I was told by the management that I cannot write satire. So my creativity was muzzled. So where is the freedom? Human safety, I have already mentioned that to you. It's so very important. So of all these, then transparency. See, empowerment comes from transparency. And in the society, there is no transparency. I really do not know the money, the taxes I'm paying, where are they going? Are they going in the potholes? Are they going in the broken bridges? Where are they going? Where's the money going? I don't know. Then you're talking about the ideology. Of course, you mentioned then personality development. What kind of personality are we developing? The people who are growing up now, my kids' generation, can I call them comfortable human beings? Can I call them empowered human beings? Can I call them empathetic human beings who will reach out to the other humans as well as the nature? No. I feel our society has really not lived up to its mark, and the 8 points which you have mentioned, if we could live them, if we could understand, cultivate, live them, tomorrow we might be actually living in some kind of a utopia, some kind of an idyllic place where a man, rather a human, is treated like a human, a life is treated like a life. There is trust, love, and respect for all.
Very true, very true. Ramendra, actually, that is why the main intention of Creative Society to make this society form came from that intention. The dissatisfaction of the people with the society in which we are living right now made this formation of this Creative Society. We are working in this foundations, and right now, though it is in the informational stage, but of course we are collecting information from the people in which type of society, and as such these 8 foundation was selected that when the society is created we will be working on these aspects, which is really necessary, and the need of an hour for everyone to develop on these aspects. So that is why the foundations were laid, and we are working, though right now it is just an information. Anna, do you say, what do you say about that? We are just moving ahead, as Ramendra has expressed. Every field we are suffering, we have a setback in every foundations which was selected by the Creative Society was very rightly and meticulously selected, that yes, we need this type of a society wherein we will be having freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of growing the development of personality development, of giving more importance to the human life, and that is what the need of an hour. Right, Anna? We are moving ahead for that society.
Of course we are, but you know, just like Creative Society, it's people. So they're not like Creative Society are just like collecting the information or sort of this. It's also very important understanding that there is no like founders, managers, sort of this. Creative Society, it's people. Without people, Creative Society does not exist. So that's why it's so important that we are building such society, which you, Ramendra, just start, you know, to talk about, because it only depends on us, will it be or not? And it's only in our hand. Will we follow 8 foundation? Will we implement this in our daily life? Because actually, you know, these 8 foundation are very common for every person. Since also it's like in every constitution of every country, it's already there. But we just do not like follow it. We do not are making it in real, because we have to be active. All people have to be more active and feel this responsibility of our society, because it's our family, our common home. And only from this condition, it depends what kind of society we will achieve. And thank you so much, Ramendra, that you so I think like so briefly, as you are a writer, I think that just so briefly and just to the point, you explain about the 8 foundation and how it's so important, you know, to implement by us, by people, to our world. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, moving ahead, so Ramendra, I would just like to touch up on this point. In childhood, everyone has a natural strive to learn. We all know that, to create, to share, to enjoy every moment in action. But coming to the current format of the society, we learn to look for external motivation, study for getting something, probably marks, probably reaching that topmost ladder, work for some benefit. But as we lose this inner true aspiration, we feel not fulfilled. In your opinion, what is the key for really living a happy and fulfilled life?
You have, in a way, answered my question to a certain extent. Let me introduce or share with you a concept which I have kind of developed and practiced. You've heard of ATM card, anytime money card. So I have created another card called anytime memory card, ATM. So what I ask people is to create memories with their children, particularly, or with their friends, because the gizmos get broken, the toys get lost, clothes get torn, but the memories last forever. You are earning so much to give a beautiful gizmo to your child. That's really not going to last. But create memories with him. And for creating memories, for creating this ATM, what do you need? Two four-letter words: time and love. All of us have enough time, all of us have enough love, but we say, no, 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 we are too busy. We are earning money for you, beta, sunny boy or little girl, my princess. I'm doing all this for you. She doesn't want that. She wants your quality time. She wants you to create memories with her. And this ATM card, one important thing, Anna and Rachna, is that this has got no expiry date. Whether the shares are up or down, the value of ATM card continues forever and ever. It continues increasing. This ATM card will not get lost or torn. It will be with you. And together you can enhance its value and encash it whenever you want, because it is priceless. How did I do this? One small example. When the kids were young, so we used to celebrate this Papa's Day out. We would send my wife Madhvi to the office. She works in the same plant. She used to work in the same plant. And we three kids, one grown up and two youngsters, we would do crazy things. We would wear horrible, terrible kind of funny kind of clothes. We would go to the local zoo and chit chat with the monkeys, play cricket, or run around and eat in places where my wife would never go. How can you go to a dirty place like this? You'll fall ill. And we used to have a blast. And then when it used to rain, we would sing and dance. I'm a terrible singer and a great dancer. But in all that mush and that muck, we would have the time of our lives. My wife would come out and say, "What is this you are doing? Our neighbor, Mr. Chopra, what will he think? Our colleague, Mr. Arora, what will he say?" I would tell her, "Mr. Chopra can go to hell. Mr. Arora can go and fry his head. My kids and I are having a blast, and that's all that is important." And these memories, even now, are so very precious. During COVID times, when four of us were together, two 50 plus teenagers and two uber cool 20-year-olds, we had such a great time because we revisited these memories. We encashed our ATM cards. So my humble, what should I say, request to the audience is, please invest in the ATM card, the most valuable, the most priceless card.
Very nicely put up, Ramendra. Yes, very true. The moments with our family, the moments, those small things which we do with our family, those are the memories which we create. And before we forget, even we can write down, create, recreate, make memories, make videos about it, and live it to the fullest. So that is the real happy time which we can spend.
important, you know, to share this information, to share this positivity all around it. So thank you, Ramendra. Thank you so much. And now it also would be interesting to watch a short video. It's an interview with Igor Mikhailovich Danilov, like the expert from the program about the Creative Society. So let's watch it and to talk about it later.
Sure.
What is actually the Creative Society? How do you envision it? I mean, who is this society focused on?
On a person. The Creative Society, in my opinion, of course there are as many opinions as there are people, but again, the Creative Society is simple. It's very comfortable and convenient for a person. Why? Because it is focused on a person's benefits and freedoms, and that's the entire meaning of the Creative Society. There are no lies there, no deception, and most importantly, there is no power, because a person has all the power. There's no superstructure over him. That's the point. Just look at the number of wars, revolutions, all kinds of human revolts that we have, right? And we always look for what? Why do we take sides against each other?
In search of happiness, in search of an ideal society and freedom.
Freedom and everything else, yet what are we building? The same. They say you can't kill the dragon.
By the same methods.
When you defeat the dragon, you become the dragon yourself. Why? A simple question. Because the consumerist format itself dictates this scenario, right? For example, people make a revolution, they strive for the best, and the nation rises. The same tyrants come to power, who again manipulate us in just the same way. And we get nothing. Why? Because that's the law of the consumerist order. It will remain exactly as it was set up to be, because we remain divided. We have our own interests, and most importantly, we live by the law of beasts, right? I mean, we treat each other just like beasts. Although we have laws set out, the UN and other organizations create them, and they declare how we should live. But all these declarations do not work. Why? Because the consumerist format dominates. In other words, the inhuman format of relationship of one person towards another. Can this be changed? Easily, my friends. It all depends on us. And again, what do we return to? To the integrity of our attention, where all of us together invest it. If we want to live well, if we want to live worthy of a human being, then we should invest our attention precisely in this. That is, our time and our efforts in building the future for ourselves and, let's say, for our children and descendants. If we approach this from the perspective of the present day, then it is actually very easy to build a creative society. I'll put it this way: if we really want this, and everyone who has understood the entire meaning and essence of the creative society that we are going to talk about now, then it's realistic to build it within 10 years. 10 years.
Great.
And we will live in this creative society. But again, it depends on people, on their desires and aspirations. If we do nothing and set our hopes on someone else, that someone will do this, it won't be built, because the creative society is precisely the task of all people. It's not just a task of, for example, some idea-driven fellows who are supposed to do something for someone, but it's a task of each and every one of us.
Very beautifully spoken. Very, very well said.
I think it's just also, you know, like support your words as well, because you also talked about these things. So maybe you have something more you would like also to share on this video.
See, he has said so many points which are so vital, so true, and so much a part of today's living. I do not know about Ukraine, but in India, we have no freedom in many senses, you know. And it's always like, it's such a self-centered individual I have become. I can't see beyond myself or my family. There are some individuals who can't even see beyond themselves. Can you believe during this incident, during COVID lockdown, the incidence of domestic violence increased manifold. And when the lockdown was open, the longest queue was for buying liquor. You know, how selfish, like he used the word beast. And then there is one power or one authority, the other authority replaces, it is the same. So we are perpetuating that violence, we are perpetuating that ignorance, we are perpetuating the mental, what should we say, uh, dirt, squalor, unkindness. I can't find adjectives to describe what the society is now come to. And like he said, it is the individual. He has to decide. I want a creative society and I can do it. Why can't I do it? And it is for me only. I'm not doing it for somebody else. I'm doing it for myself, because a creative society is a idyllic society, almost an idyllic society. Because, for example, Anna, if I have information, I'm empowered. Isn't that a great feeling? That I know, I have information, I know where the taxes are going, I know which school my boy is going, and in that he's paying so much of fees, where the fees is going. I'm giving you tiny examples. The vegetables which are coming to me, I know they are fresh. They have not been, put with doused in chemicals or pesticides or God knows what else and all that. Similarly, every which way, the news which is coming, I have stopped watching news channels. Simply because I do not know what is the truth and what is fiction. One channel says X, the other channel says Y, the other channel says Z. And this COVID pandemic, I realized no government is interested in anything except power. People have died at the drop of a pin. Hundreds and hundreds of deaths have happened across the country, while the so-called authorities were busy fighting elections. Is this the society I want my child to grow or my grandchild to grow? No. I want a society in which the individual has information, has empowerment, has empathy, and the most important of all qualities, humanness, that is there.
And indeed, when you're explaining, it's very easily actually. No, very easily to build such a society. Just we have to be a human first of all and treat each other as a human, as you already said. Thank you, Ramendra. Thank you so much. Rachana, up to you.
Yes, I too would love to live in a society, because right now the society is become totally, it is now under the consumer based, as we just now saw the video too, how we have been forced to live into a society like that, though we are not into it, but still we are growing up. But do we really want to live? No one would love to live in such a society. So thank you, Ramendra, for giving the clarity in thoughts and expression. It is so wonderful to listen from people like you, who are so experienced and know the society and have been writing about it and making the people aware with their works, also with your books. Also, you have been trying to write comedy, satires, but you have been making the people aware that somewhere we really need to wake up the clarion call inside us, and that is the rise to humanity. And it's really nice to hear from you, Ramendra. So moving ahead towards somewhat towards the end of the session. So in your opinion, Ramendra, what can every person do in order to let all the people know about this chance for humanity to build a creative society? So what would be your suggestion?
Any individual or a media person, an artist, a literary person, what exactly is?
Anything in from your point of view, maybe from your angle, as you are an author. So what would you
So
suggest?
as a writer, I have been doing my little bit talking about these values, love, happiness, truth, trust, transparency, honesty, living in the present moment, and trying to understand the other person's point of view. So I would continue doing it. I would ask the other writers, other storytellers, other speakers, other media personalities to not only talk about it, but also demonstrate, to live it. The point is, most of us are talking so much, but are we living it? For instance, it's a very crude example. In front of my house, I've just shifted to Bangalore. I'm in a rented apartment. So I used to gather a few kids and I would tell them stories. So in one particular story, there is a hen who tells a vegetarian that I'm safe from you because you won't eat me. So in the opposite building, there was a particular community who was staying. They came and said that you don't talk about the hen. How intolerant is that? This is a very small example. I can give you thousands of examples, but I'll probably get into trouble. So I'm not saying those things. How much of suspicion there is amongst us? How much of ghettoism of the mind? We have heard of ghettoism physical, that people of the same community live in the same kind of a society or same hutment or villages or whatever. But here is the ghettoism of the mind. How do we get rid of the ghettoism of the mind? We all have to speak. My daughter is an influencer. She goes on the stage and she goes on her Insta account and talks about these things. I talk about these things. You people are talking about it. We have to talk and we have to lead by example. We have to live it. And especially during these times of COVID, when there is so much of despondency, there's so much of hopelessness, talking about issues like safety, health, empathy, it is so important. Creative society can only happen if each and every one internalizes, imbibes. It becomes a reflex action. I don't even think about it. It is there in my mind. Rachna asked me a question, so I talk from the frame of Creative Society. Anna asked me a question. She shouts at me. I reply from the frame of the Creative Society. It is a part of my instinct. It's a reflex action. That is what is going to create a creative society.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful. So, Anna, don't you think this is a new perspective that yes, when we think it from inside, instead of asking us, we internally feel it. We just leave into that concepts of the creative society. Then this creative society will surely become just possible at the blink of an eye. So we all need to be like humans like Ramendra. If we can start leaving that concept inside us, not that when somebody tells us, then we are aware of a creative society, that it is there. We all should leave into that concept and try leaving that and thinking that we are already in that society. Then only it will become possible, and we need to join hands together. So, Anna, what do you suggest about this suggestion given by Ramendra?
Yes, great. Thank you so much. It's like, changing the mindset from the consumer-oriented to the creative one. And changing the mindset is also very important for us, because now we are like, for the creative society, it's very hard to think from the consumer format of thinking. So that's why it's so important, to change and really to put our attention, as like Igor Mikhailovich in this video mentioned, that we have to put our attention to creative society, to what we actually would like to receive at the end. So that then definitely the creative society will be when we all will like live, as you said, and the thoughts will come also, like good fun, positive fun, because we will live as in creative society, definitely. Thank you so much, Ramendra. And as you said, that like everyone should know about this possibility for now, that we have to change like the format of our society. So that's why I would like to ask you whom you would like to invite to our next interview and to hear his or her vision of creative society.
There is this writer and a poet and a TED speaker called Santosh Bakaya. I think Rachna might know her. I'll give her links. She is again a very, very positive person, and I'm sure she'll be glad to join this movement, if I might call it. And you can talk to her, you can interact with her. Santosh Bakaya. I'll give the details to Rachna.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, Ramendra. Yeah, we need such people who are really writing and expressing the thoughts out. That is also print media works a lot nowadays. Rather than, of course, we have our other technical sources. The social media is playing a dominant role in making the people aware of the society. Already 187 countries have joined hands, and it's a global change which is coming around, though it will take some time. But thank you for suggesting and making it possible and extending our hands for the 6 handshake theory.
Yes, and Ramendra, if you would like also to join as a host in this interview with Santosh, it would be also interesting, I think, experience an interesting interview as well. So if you would like, it's also possible.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ravendra, thank you so much. Thank you for today's interview. I think it was so enlightenment and so enriching conversation. And I don't know how other people, but actually I enjoy, to have this conversation with you and with the Rachana. So maybe you have something to wish to all people all around the world.
There are two lines in Hindi which I would like to share, with which Rachna can translate. Uh, I would say that to Creative Society, I would say that हर लम्हे की कहानी बस इतनी हो सनम, हर लम्हे की कहानी बस इतनी हो सनम, तुझसे ही शुरू तुझ पर ही खत्म, तुझसे ही शुरू तुझ पर ही खत्म. This is my dedication to Creative Society.
Wow.
That every moment of mine should be such that it begins with you and it ends with you.
Wow, that's wonderful, Anna. I think this perspective is really going to change and bring about a total revolution here, because every moment of my life will be Creative Society, and it starts with that and ends in that. Isn't that wonderful? Thank you so much, Ramendra, for this enriching session. And the note on which you ended was really the tagline of everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for this wonderful platform. Thank you, Rachna.
Thank you so much. And just at the end, as we also talk about, that's so important, not just to talk and just to demonstrate, to have an example and to make this example. So I just would like to say about an unprecedented event that we had, the global online conference Creative Society, what the prophets dreamed of. And it took place on 20th March 2021, which has shown that humanity can unite, because in this conference, hundreds of speakers were participated from different religions, from different nationalities, from different professions, and they came together on one platform and talk about one common goal that we as a society could achieve together. So at the end, let's watch the feedback of our viewers about this global conference. And thank you so much one more time for this conversation, for this interview, and thanks to our viewers who was watching us today. So see you next time. Goodbye to all.
On March 20th, 2021, a momentous event took place. For the first time in history, a conference was held where people of different religion and nationality voiced the truth that God is one. While all the separation of our mankind have been made artificially, the time of the truth has come. For the truth is one for all. International Conference, Creative Society, what the prophets dreamed of. More than 45 languages of simultaneous interpretation. Nearly 9 hours of live broadcasting. Thousands of platforms and online broadcasts. People themselves made it possible.